Hello and welcome to Through the Bible with Les Feldick. An Oklahoma rancher and farmer, Les Feldick has been teaching homestyle Bible classes for 20 years in Iowa, Oklahoma, and Texas. Les Feldick's unique style of Bible teaching has made the books of the Bible come to life. When Les is teaching, it's so interesting that people say time just seems to fly by. And now, here is Les Feldick.
Okay. Good to have everybody staying with us the way it looks all afternoon. And for those of you joining us on television, we just trust you'll take your Bibles and follow these references with us. And the only reason we teach is just to get people to study the book. You don't have to agree on what I'm saying, but hopefully I can give you some food for thought and will cause you to search the Scriptures. I remember years ago, a lady was visiting one of our classes. I think she had come down from Michigan visiting relatives, and she was going out the door, and she said, "I don't know that I agree with you." But she says, "I've already made up my mind. I'm going to start studying my Bible." And I said, "Hey, that's the only reason I'm here." See? And that's all I maintain. If I can just get people's appetite whetted, or if I can raise their eyebrows enough that they'll go back and say, "Hey, I'm going to check this out." That's what we want. Check it out. And see if these things, as I'm teaching, aren't really so. Because, see, we don't try to go high-fangled or use big words or anything like that. We just try to keep it as simple as we can so that even relatively young children can comprehend what we're trying to show. All right, now for this half hour, we're going to go right into the book of Matthew. Hopefully the last 2-3 programs have been enough introduction that you can see that all of the Old Testament prophecies are now coming to a fulfillment. And it's all based upon everything that God had promised to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Comes along Moses, the law was another covenant. Then comes to David, and he promises David that out of him would come the king. See, all of that is looking forward. And here it comes now in the New Testament, but it's just an extension of the Old. Remember I said 3-4 programs ago, so many people think that there's a big wall between the Old Testament and the New Testament. You get in the New Testament, this is Christianity, and everything else is all by the boards. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. We aren't going to see Christianity right away. We're just an extension of the Old Testament program. All right, now we pointed out then several weeks ago in verse 1 of Matthew 1. Now, if you're a Bible student, this should just immediately open your eyes. Where it says, the book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And that's as far as it goes. It doesn't go all the way back to Adam, because you see, everything that's going to take place with regard to coming of the king and the kingdom began with Abraham, not Adam. It began with Abraham. And that's why the genealogy only goes that far. Now, we covered that, like I said, in 3 or 4 programs back. All right, now as we go through that genealogy, just briefly, I think it's interesting that there are only 4 women listed in the whole genealogy. Only 4. And yet they're the very 4 women that every one of us, we'd just as soon leave out. But God sees fit to put them in here. And I'll point them out to you, and then you can figure out why I said what I said. But in verse 3, you have the first one, where Judas begat Phares and Zerah of Tamar. Now you got to go back to Genesis, and you remember that Tamar played the prostitute. Phares begat Esrom, Esrom begat Aram, and Aram begat Amminadab, and so on and so forth. Now you come down to verse 5, and Solomon begat Boaz of who? Rahab. Now, again, what was Rahab? A harlot, a Gentile, non-Jew. And remember, God had always mandated that the Jews were to have nothing to do with these Gentiles. And yet, here we have one in the genealogy. And then the next one. And Boaz begat Obed of Ruth. And where'd Ruth come from? Moab. And what were the Moabites? Taboo. Don't you have a thing to do with the Moabites. Because you remember they began with the ancestral relationship of Lot and his daughter. And so the Jew was to have nothing to do with the Moabite. Yet here we have a Moabite girl in the genealogy. Now I think all this just points up that, now I think of a verse. I can't help it. Romans. I told you we'd stay in Matthew, but Romans chapter 5, verse 20. And I think this best explains, because even though we're back here in the Jewish economy, basically under the law, yet it's the same God. God hasn't changed. God has never changed from eternity past, nor will He into eternity future. It's the same God. But the only thing that changes is His responsibilities that He puts on the human race. All right, now look what Romans chapter 5 says in verse 20. And again, this is Paul writing, and he says, moreover, the law entered, so that sin could be seen for all of its awfulness. But where sin abounded, grace did much more abound. You see that? In other words, even back here now to the genealogy, as low as some of these people may have fallen, yet what was able to go beyond that? The grace of God. See, even though we're not under the program of grace, yet God's grace has always been evident. Even when Adam sinned, go all the way back into the garden. When Adam sinned, and I appreciate when people write in and said they never saw this before. Adam and Eve didn't go running looking for God, but what happened? God went looking for them. Now, what was the basis for God looking for these creatures who had violently disobeyed Him? His grace, see? His grace. And so He reached down and He brought Adam and Eve back into a relationship with Himself. And so it is, the nation of Israel would turn their back on Jehovah, and how many times didn't they go to the very depths of rejecting? And yet what caused God to always go back to them? His grace, see? And the same way with these four women in the genealogy. It just shows again that even though these women were in direct opposition to everything God had instructed, yet in His mercy and His grace, He's able to even bring them into a place of renown by being in the genealogy. All right, now we're going to move on out of the genealogy, and we come to verse 18, where it says, now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. When as His mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, in other words, before their marriage had been consummated, before they had come together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Then Joseph, her husband, being